Welcome back to the Constitution in 3 Minutes with Mr. Postel. Last time we got to June 15th, where Mr. Patterson presents the New Jersey Plan, or the Patterson Plan. I mentioned that the main problem that he saw with the articles was that it wasn't quite strong enough to collect taxes from the states, so the main thing that he wants to fix is he wants to make the Congress capable of collecting those taxes. Some other changes that he makes, he does add in Resolution 4, that the Congress will be authorized to elect a federal executive to consist of blank persons. What he's thinking here is a three-person, a triumvirate, as the president. In Resolution 5, he also talks about a federal judiciary, and it will consist of a supreme tribunal. He doesn't say anything about inferior tribunals like the Virginia Plan says. Now, on June 16th, there's a little bit of a debate over the Patterson Plan. Mr. Patterson defends his own plan, and Mr. Lansing of New York also defends Mr. Patterson's plan. There are two objections that they present on to Mr. Randolph's plan, and Mr. Patterson and Mr. Lansing, they share the same argument against the Virginia plan. And the first argument that they make is that it's not within the powers of the convention to present such a plan, and the second one, and related to the first, is that it doesn't accord with the sentiments of the people. In other words, it won't be accepted or ratified by the people because it's too radical. It's not a revision of the Articles of Confederation, the reason for which they've been sent there. Mr. Wilson refutes the arguments given by Mr. Patterson and Mr. Lansing, and then the next day is a Sunday, so they don't convene. Now, on Monday, Mr. Hamilton comes in and he presents his own plan. So we'll have 3 plans to consider after this day. And what Mr. Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, says is, he says that he asks, how are the evils under our system to be avoided? And he says, only by such a complete sovereignty in the general government as will turn all the strong principles and passions on its side. In other words, what he wants to do is what he says a little bit later. He wants to take all of the powers away from the states and all of the passions of the people towards their states. He wants to turn them towards the federal government or the general government. He goes on to say that in his private opinion he had no scruple in declaring, supported as he was by the opinion of so many of the wise and good, that the British government was the best in the world. He goes on to call the House of Lords a most noble institution. So what he ends up presenting is something very similar to the British system. We'll talk more about that next.